Your belief in the Motb will be associated with bug outs and deemed crazy. Here is an example. I have an article proving going into this. Okay, so without further ado, I like to say, Kal Halal, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Bahashim, Ruach Kodash, Thawada, Yahweh, for giving us Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who have the 100% spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai in them. Double honors to the CT bishops, elders of GMS, Arbegakim, Salakia. And greetings and salutations to the Yakim in this country and all over the world who are prophesying in the true name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, which is none other than the power of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody who are descendants from those people on their father's side. Shalom to those who are scattered abroad. I'm Yaquab, Lord willing, serving the King of the universe, King Yahushai, from the power of Yahweh. Again, this title is Believing in the Motb will be associated with bug outs and deemed crazy, right? And I have an article here for proof. So yeah, it's as you see in the corner here, right? Corner screen. It's 10:09 p.m. 11/5/2025. Yeah, so I just had something come up on my algorithms, and it was basically a news alert. Which I'm about to show the video on it, which is going into that a so-called black man, killed his children and associated with the mark of the beast. All right, from the scriptures, from the Bible, right? And so, what I want to do, obviously, just want to go into this, and of course, my point is bringing out that the media, which is controlled by the international bankers, really known as the amongst the people in the know as the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Oppenheimers, the banking elite banking families of the earth. They're the ones that control your media. They're the ones that control your FCC, your radio waves. They're the ones that allow what's going to be ran on your media or not, etc. So programs like this, pointing out, not only a so-called black man committing a heinous crime, but furthermore, a so-called black man saying he killed his children, believing in the mark of the beast. And my point is, this is just another tactical sly move from the devil, from the powers of the FCC, from the power who owns the media waves, to put these stories out to make people who believe in the Bible, or really who believe in the Bible, and furthermore who believe in the mark of the beast, look crazy, and that was another one of my theories that I thought in my head, like with the whole September 23rd thing, where they tried to make people who believe in the Bible or the comeback of the Lord, look crazy by calling out days. Oh yeah, the Lord's gonna come back at September 23rd, and obviously that's not the case. So there's constant things that are going on in the media to make people who believe in the Bible look crazy. And this article, which I'm about to go into, is no different. I bring that story up with September 23rd because it's an all-out attack on people who believe in the Bible, right? To make them look crazy, to make them look foolish, and furthermore, uh, a lot of the stories are going to get more descriptive, describing the true prophets of the Lord, what we're bringing out, because here at GMS, starting with the apostles of GMS and on down, we're the only ones that are carrying on the true spirit of the Lord, which is the spirit of prophecy, warn you about the prophecies to come, which is ultimately we only have a few more left, which is World War III, right? Hamargadwan, which means basically the mountain of troops, the valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh over there in the Middle East, where all the major conflicts of the past decades have been taking place. The Most High is doing that, and especially the past year, 3 years, right? Especially this year, okay? Now you had Trump saying there's not going to be a World War III, which is a complete about face from the scriptures. You know, it's a complete contradiction to the Holy Bible. There will be a third world's war, a third woe. So anyway, you know, there's a plenty of attacks trying to make the Bible, anybody believes in the Bible, look crazy and stupid. And again, this shows no different, which I'm about to show. An article, once again, not article, a quick news coverage of a man who killed his kids and saying he did it because of the mark of the beast. All right. And so let's get right into it. I don't know what scripture I'm gonna bring out, but I do have two other things I want to show as well. I want to go into 2 points, how they deem us a certain way. Where, well, let me show you real quick. I'm going to come back to this, but I do want to show, have a counter to how American media, American brainwashing and propaganda, um, how it operates. And one of the biggest ways is through the media, through your movies. You know, and one of the first blockbuster movies in America was dealing with using propaganda to depict the so-called black man as a wild monkey animal, right? Which is the farthest from the truth. You know, the people who are most associated with animals are none other than the beast, right? The mark of the beast we're talking about, and that represents, again, the mark of the beast represents the New World Order system, right? That's gonna be implanted under your skin, right? That's gonna represent the system, the mark of the beast, the mark, right? Which we're gonna go into implant under your skin, which we go through it all the time here at GMS, Storm at the Top, and it's gonna represent a system, which is basically the New World Order system, right? The New World Order, which is the society or a system based on the Roman Catholic, not the Roman Catholic, the Romans Empire, right? The Roman Empire, which we're currently in, the rebirth of the Roman Empire, and also the Roman Catholic Church, all right? Um, so that's going to be implanted under your skin. So, and remember, that was said by Carl Schwab, who recently resigned from the World Economic Forum. He said that there will be CBD, central bank digital currencies, that will be planted under your skin, some to that effect, right? But anyway, before I rant, I was just bringing this out to say that Birth of a Nation was the first propaganda movie to really depict Esau, excuse me, the so-called black man as an animal, when really the nation of Edom, you're known as an animal according to the Most High, through the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures. You know, you're referred to as a basis of men, and you're the real beast. Again, like I said, the beast represents the system, the New World Order. It represents the Roman Empire, an image of the Roman Empire through its penal codes and its systems and how they elect their government officials. But overall, it represents the character of this man, the devil, which is a beast. He's a beast. He's an animal, you know, filthy caveman animal, right? And so anyway, I just have a quick point about this, which we'll look at after the clip, right? And again, this news clip it falls in line with this, in my opinion. Then I want to show something else real quick, which is right here, right? See if I can blow this up. Yeah, here we go, right? So this is something I had I copied this in 2018, but it's from 2017. It says the FBI crime table in 2017 in the United States, right? So Um, as you can see, I'm only bringing this out. We're gonna come back to this again and take a closer look. But as you can see, is broken up into whites and blacks, so-called white people and so-called black, right? And these are a list of crimes from the FBI. Percentages, and as you can see here, the so-called white man by far exceeds every crime: violent rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, motor vehicle theft, arson, violent crime. Look at the violent crime. 64% of Edomites, right, is damn near double, or excuse me, is twice as more as so-called blacks, right? 32% of blacks commit this 30 of crimes. Violent crimes is basically 65%, right, of crimes committed by Edomites. We're gonna come back to this. So just to show you again, here it is. The news depicts us as crazy, you know, but where are they according to this here? Why are they not reporting more on their violent crimes? Because they do it more, as we see here. Anyway. All right, now here's a picture of the guy here. I'm gonna play from Law Crime Network. It was posted 2 hours ago, and as you can see, you know, they get a close-up look. You look like a bug out. You know, I'm gonna hold up, go. Slovakia. You know, as you can see, he has a beard. You know, like an Israelite, right? According to the law, we're supposed to keep our beards, right? Kind of resembles the prophets, so to speak, right? So they're gonna get this kind of image. They're gonna get more images like this, right? You get used to seeing these images with a so-called black man with a beard, you know, and looking crazy, right? Looking like associated with crazy. All right. So again, fair use, fair use. I'm gonna play this. This is from Law and Crime Network. It says killer. Dad mentioned the beast before murdering 4 kids. And then another thing is that I looked at half of this. It's 30 minutes. I looked at half of this, waiting to see, and he didn't mention the mark of the beast of him. It has an excuse him killing his kids. You know, um, it was something that he said about the mark of the beast, the 666. That was from a prior situation happened years before, signing some documents for his kids or papers, and on the documents it had the letters, it had the number 666, or it had 666 on there, and he refused to sign the paperwork because it had those numbers on there. So anyway, you see how they're reaching and trying to grab something that he acknowledged that was wicked or not that was in the Bible, and they're bringing something years before that he signed certain documents for into a murder that he did years later, you know. So that's another thing. All right. Anyway, let's play a little bit of this. All right, this is a disclaimer. This is I'm just going to read this. This content in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. All opinions expressed are my own and do not reflect the views of any organization I may be affiliated with. Viewers are advised to do their own research and take decisions at their own discretion. I do not intend to harm or offend anyone with the content presented.
Let's talk about.
It says use your own judgment and always seek professional advice if needed. Viewer discretion is advised. Okay, again, this is from Killer. It says dad mentioned the beast before murdering 4 kids.
We're following a big update in a case out of North Carolina. A dad accused of killing his 4 children over multiple months and hiding their bodies. He then called 911 to tell dispatchers what he allegedly did.
Man, I murdered my children, a couple of my children, a couple months ago. They're in my garage, man.
A grand jury has indicted Wellington Dickens III in this horrific case. The bodies were found in the trunk of a car at his home. The ages of the children, between 6 and 18 years old. And not only that, I'll show you what we found when we dove into federal court records about this man accused of the unthinkable. The lawsuits he once filed, one even referencing 666 and the devil. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. The dad in this case was supposed to be the protector of his kids. One of his alleged victims, his 18-year-old stepson, the 3 others are his own children. That includes a victim who is just 6 years old. Now, before we dive into what could come next in this story, in the court case, I want to bring you back to the moment that this accused killer called 911.
Tone, why should people join us for the AI?
Johnston County 911, location of emergency.
Yes, I got an emergency, but it's not an emergent, but just have a confession.
Okay.
It's horrible.
Okay, what's your address?
If I could, I got my son here. He's with me. It's no issue. But if you could honestly come with no issues, I don't have no gun. I don't have nothing like that. I don't plan on doing nothing crazy. I just would like to make the scene as less profile as possible. But if you need to do what you got to do, if you want to get crazy, that's fine. But I'm just letting you know what my preference would be. I'm not an issue, but it is a problem, and just having my mind is just thinking I need to do this because it's just the right thing to do. And
okay, I got you. What's your address here? Where are you?
I'm at 101 Springtooth Drive.
Okay, and tell me a little bit what's going on out there.
Man, I murdered my children, a couple of my children, a couple of months ago. They're in my garage, man.
That is a chilling phone call that came in on October 27th in Zebulon, North Carolina. It's outside of Raleigh, and it was allegedly made by a man named Wellington Dickens III. Now, that phone call lasted roughly 7 minutes. Since this story first broke, I also just keep thinking about the dispatcher who took that call and what must have been going through their mind as they were listening to what this dad was telling them. Now, when police responded to Dickens' home, they found the bodies of 4 victims in the trunk of a car that was parked in his garage. Now, to this point, deputies believe that Dickens killed his 18-year-old stepson, who's been identified as Sean Brasfield, in September of this year. His 10-year-old son, Wellington Dickens, was killed in roughly August or early September, they say. And then you have 9-year-old Zoe Dickens, who they believe was killed in August of this year, and Leah Dickens, who was just 6 years old. She reportedly died in May of this year. Now, here's what the local sheriff said when Dickens was arrested.
Folks, there's no known motive at this point why Mr. Dickens murdered these children. But as the sheriff, as a father, and as a grandfather, I can stand here and say there's no reason for a father to murder his children.
There's obviously no explanation that will ever make sense that could explain why a father would do this to his own kids. But we are learning more about Wellington Dickens III's past, and it includes some bizarre lawsuits that he filed over the years. Before we get into those lawsuits, let's dive into what a grand jury decided this week, because that's also a huge development in this story. According to ABC 11 in Raleigh, North Carolina, the grand jury indicted Wellington Dickens III on first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and second-degree inherently dangerous without regard to human life. Court documents say that he willfully and feloniously, and of malice aforethought, killed each one of his children. When police responded to that home, they say they found the bodies of his kids wrapped and sealed inside his car. Now, inside that home, police say they did find Dickens' 3-year-old son. He was alive, and he's now in state custody. Now, as far as the cause of death for the victims, here are Dickens' own words in that 911 call about what he said happened.
Johnston County 911. Okay.
I'm going to pause it there. I'm going to kind of fast forward. You know, I'll post this in the description. You can watch the whole thing for yourself. I'm going to fast forward to some parts here. This whole time, he never mentions the mark of the beast. Like the person said, he did file some lawsuits, and one of them was for, we're about to get to it. Let me just pull it up right here. I think it's right here. I'll go right here, right? You start here.
Was Wellington's wife, and she died suddenly at their Zebulon home on April 21st, 2024. She was 37 years old, according to her obituary. She was a, quote, God-fearing, strong woman who tried her best at all times to please God alongside her family.
And they're not saying what they believed in. You know, and again, if I didn't say, of course, I don't, you know, a true man of the Lord wouldn't do something stupid like this. All right. You're not supposed to be obviously killing your children and things of that nature. All right. For no reason at all. All right. So, I mean, in the scriptures, there are scriptures that say if you have a stubborn child, you know, there's certain things that you do, a process. You take him to the priest, you pray, you have counseling with him. You know, after the third attempt, if you have a rebellious child, there is a law of rebellious children to stone them to death, you know. But even if that's in the scriptures, it's not for this time. All right, it's not for this time at all. A lot of the laws in the scriptures are not for this time at all. You know, we're all be in jail. All right, like the law of adultery. Right, we would all be in jail. I mean, we would all be put to death. All right, etc. So, again, what he did, or even if it's a real story, because we can barely know these days with AI and fake stories. But you know, if this is true, definitely not good, and we're not for that. A man of the Lord will not do that. All right, period. So this is off. But again, they're trying to couple people who believe in the Bible and the Motb, the 666, as crazy. This is why this is being put out there like that. But I also find it funny that they're not saying what their belief was, you know. All right, but let's keep playing.
Stephanie was 3 months pregnant at the time of her death, which authorities say was caused by complications from a miscarriage. Wellington Dickens found her at their home. The family's grief over her passing apparently left him as the sole caretaker for their 5 children. Now, authorities say that while Dickens and his late wife had extended family in the area, relatives had not publicly raised concerns about the children's safety. But remember, one child, according to law enforcement, was dead at least as far back as the spring of this year. Records reviewed by the Raleigh News and Observer newspaper show that Wellington Dickens III did have previous run-ins with the law, had run-ins with child welfare agencies. Like, for example, in 2015, he was charged with misdemeanor child abuse in Raleigh. That case was later dismissed. The following year, after the birth of his daughter Zoe, Wake County child welfare workers were called when hospital staff had raised concerns about the baby's health. We'll talk about a lawsuit related to that case in just a moment. Dickens and his wife refused routine medical care and repeatedly blocked social workers from seeing that child due to their religious and spiritual beliefs. Dickens was arrested in 2016 for contempt of court after failing to comply with a court order to allow the child to be examined. Now, we found lawsuits in federal court that Wellington Dickens III filed. One is suing a healthcare company, accusing that company of violating his religious beliefs. The other is a lawsuit against Durham County, North Carolina. In both cases, Dickens represented himself In 2018, he sued Wake Med. He claimed that his religious beliefs were violated when doctors tested his newborn daughter in 2016 for jaundice after he and his wife had refused anything that would penetrate their baby's skin. So you think of blood tests, of vaccines, they refused all of that.
I find that funny too. Here it is. It's a family that doesn't believe in getting their children vaccinated right after birth. They denied, doctor's request, as he's saying. But as he pointed out, I'm about to replay it, but they didn't want. It's funny how they pointed out they didn't want their children being pierced, right, or their skin broken into by way of syringes, or like we bring out in the scriptures that you are not to have any cuttings in the flesh. That's against the law of the scriptures, So that means needles, tattoos, and especially the mark of the beast, right? Because they have to cut your skin, right, or break your skin to put a chip in there. So let me play that back one more time. And I can't help to see this guy's body language in his eyes, him, Edomite as he is. Something about him seems very, I'm not gonna say jovial, but I'll just play this. It's just I'm studying his body language, and it's Esau doesn't hesitate to incriminate Jake, when they do most of the crimes, but which I'm about to show in a few. Let's play this.
Were violated when doctors tested his newborn daughter in 2016 for jaundice after he and his wife had refused anything that would penetrate their baby's skin. So you think of blood tests, of vaccines, they refused all of that. They then left the hospital before being properly discharged, and then that's when Child Protective Services got.
And it's very good cases, documentaries, video documentaries, articles, also a book here I have, right? It's called Goodbye Germ Theory. It tells you I could just read it. Since vaccines were mandated in the early 90s amongst children, that has always been there, but it was mandated to another degree in the early 90s, right? And in the early 90s, autism and things, birth defects with children boost up 500%, right? So there are studies of why a parent would be hesitant to allow their child to have vaccines, under just a few months old, right? It's detrimental to the child's health, and that's been reported. Here is this is page 21 out of the Goodbye Germ Theory book, written by Dr. William P. Trebig, right? I'm going to just read you something real quick. It just says here, how to educate your pediatrician. This is page 19. It says, a majority, certainly not all, of the pediatricians you meet have huge egos supported by an overdeveloped sense of importance and self-righteousness. They believe their limited knowledge is enough to dictate control of your child through either medical or police state measures. Most, as well, are people just like you and I who can be reached and enlightened by the facts. If your pediatrician cannot give you satisfactory answers to your concerns about vaccines, or worse yet, refuses to, it's high time to search for one who will. You should go over every fact on the previous pages, fact in a hurry, sheet with your pediatrician. The chart which follows will also be of help in your query. If your pediatrician has made a statement not mentioned below, please send it to us as an address located. Anyway, so he has a list of questions and answers, right? So it says, if your pediatrician says vaccines are completely safe, it says, then your answer, number one, it says, And then why does the packet insert to each one list dozens of possible side effects, including death? That'd be a counter, you would say. Counter 2 would be, since you're so sure, will you please put that in writing? Number 3 counter, it says these vaccines contain mercury, which is scientifically proven a neurotoxin, as well as aluminum and formaldehyde. How can you assure that these poisons won't hurt my child? That's just one. That's just one question. So they have a list of questions, right? So let me go to the point with this show. There's one that said it went 500%. Put on pause real quick. Okay, so like I had to put on pause, but I found it took me a while. Again, this I'm reading from the Goodbye Germ Theory by Dr. William P. Tribbing. This is from page 15. So it's entitled, as you see, it says when you need a quick fact in a hurry, right? So this is the first one, right? I was looking for. It says autism has increased by over 3,000 times since the advent of mandatory vaccination programs, when it was considered very rare. The medical profession blames this on new diagnostic parameters, but this alone cannot possibly have created such a drastic increase in so little time. The systematic blood poisoning of America's children through mercury and other products in vaccines is the only event which could possibly do this. Following mandatory vaccine programs, one of every 149 children in Brick Township, New Jersey, is autistic. Following mandatory vaccine programs between 1993 and 1998, autism increased 513% in the state of Maryland. So that's what I want to show you real quick. It was the state of Maryland, right? Check mark number 2 here. All right. So just another one. It says federal government reports confirm that vaccinations kill more than 3 children per week in America. There's a whole bunch of the list of other facts here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Just want to get that one. See, as you can see, there's all these check marks of facts. Right? That you can see there. Here's another one that says your child is 94 times more likely to die from a whooping cough vaccine than from the actual whooping cough, and nearly 4,000 times more likely of acquiring long-term damage from the vaccine than from developing the disease. Okay. Now this is another section, how to educate your pediatrician. It has, as you can see, it has if your pediatrician says, and then it has, then you give your answer. So it helps you out here, like counters. Like, for example, it says your doctor says autism and vaccines have no relation, proven by valid medical research. Your response would be, doctors always say this without really knowing what they are talking about. Autism occurs quite often after a child has come home from receiving a dose of vaccines. Vaccines contain toxins like mercury that have been proven to cause brain damage, sudden infant death syndrome, and cancer in children. All right. Another quick one I'll read. It says your doctor would say this: medical research proves that more autism is reported today not due to vaccine damage, but due to vast changes in the diagnosis of this disorder. Before the changes, only a few characteristics were associated with autism. Now there are many. Your counter would be to that. You would say no single change in diagnostic parameters for any disease has ever caused it to increase more than 3,000% in 15 years. As is the case with autism, only one thing can create such a drastic increase so quickly, and that is the systematic neurological poisoning of population created by neurotoxins found in vaccines. So just wanted to read that real quick to show you why some families hesitate to get their children vaccinated.
Involved. Now, Dickens' lawsuit was dismissed, and it wasn't the only lawsuit that caught our attention that he filed in federal court. There's one from 2017, where he sued Durham County, North Carolina, accusing the county of violating his rights, including his religious rights related to him signing a paternity document related to one of his kids. On page 8 of the lawsuit, he accuses the county of violating his religious rights because when he signed the document, it did not mention a federal statute related to child support that includes the numbers 666, that he was, quote, negligently coerced into associating myself with the mark of
Sorry, let me bring that back. I paused the wrong thing. Sorry.
child support that includes the numbers when the county of violating his religious rights because when he signed the document, it did not mention a federal statute related to child support that includes the numbers 666. Now, Dickens.
So this is where this whole 666 thing comes up. It was from a prior lawsuit, like we're hearing about. And again, he's filing a lawsuit because the papers that he found, there was some kind of child, what did it say? Child support, and as we read here, it was something associated with child support, and I guess the statute was under the number 666. So let's read here. It says the third cause of action, the violation of right to freedom of religion, consent, The content of above paragraph are incorporated herein by references as is fully set forth therein by DC's initial concealment of the 42 U.S.C. 666, which is the requirement of statutory prescribed procedures to improve effectiveness of child support enforcement. My voluntary association initiated with me signing the AOP violates my religious beliefs. All right, it says, to the best of my ability, follow every word of guidance of God gave to me and all who are applicable with the Holy Bible. I cannot associate myself in any way, shape, or form with a fashion with the mark of the beast, labeled as the number of 666. This mark of the beast is the number 666. It's located within the federal code stated above. Therefore, since this info was not disclosed to me prior to me executing my signature in the AOP, I was neglectantly coerced into associating myself with the mark of the beast, labeled 666. Scriptures that warn about associating myself with the mark of the beast can be taken from Holy Bible, King James Version, Revelation chapter 13, verse 18, Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, etc. The DC's coercion of myself participating in the child support enforcement services being very extensive goes against the commandment that God told man to include myself to do in Genesis 9:1, which tells us to be fruitful, increase in number, and fill the earth. So I guess this was his lawsuit reply. And again, he's suing them, or a lawsuit against them, for signing child support, if I understand, paperwork clause, which he didn't notice. He said he was coerced into signing this, but he noticed it says 666, right? And unknowingly he signed it, and he brought out that it's the mark of the beast. All right. So now the point is that, again, he signed papers that says 666 on there, right? I mean, when you buy something from the store, here it is. I read you something from this book, right? But every barcode that you have has a 666 on there. So if he feels that way about it, that means he can't really buy anything dealing with a UPC code, because everything you have at 666 is encoded in the barcode. It's 666 is on your passport, 666 is on your license, right? It's especially in everything that you buy with a barcode, when you get it scanned at the register. So, this guy, if he was taught in the Holy Spirit, he wouldn't have gone to this length, Everything we do is under the 666, really, because really the 666 represents the barcode, right? In order for you to buy or sell, which is kept in a data supercomputer in London as data, right? Everything that you scan is put into that supercomputer in London or in a database. So there's no way around it. All right. Anyway, let's keep going.
Says that he was, quote, negligently coerced into associating myself with the mark of the beast labeled 666. And then he marks the parts of the Bible where the numbers 666 are associated with the devil. That lawsuit was also dismissed, but both of these cases may help paint the mindset and beliefs of a man now accused of horrific crimes that he could be put to death over if he is found guilty.
So here it is. They're relating something, paperwork, a lawsuit that he filed years before this actual crime, maybe 5 to 6 years prior. And like he just said, oh, well, maybe this is gives a clue of his mindset of why he killed his children. So they're really reaching. So even the title of this news article, or this this news, Killer. A dad mentioned the beast before murdering 4 kids. That's kind of misleading, because the beast he mentioned was basically in a lawsuit, right? Which they put here, deceptively, that was done years prior, than actually had nothing to do with the murder, right? But again, you see how they're reaching, they're reaching. So that's it. I just wanted to show there, that again, they're going to show, a bearded man, like this, right? An Israelite, by bloodline. I'm not saying he is. I don't know what his religion is. But even if he does believe in the Israelite truth, or he believes what he is, an Israelite, there's nothing in the scriptures that say that you're supposed to be killing your kids and your children and all that stuff. So that's totally off. And especially because of the beast, that has nothing to do with anything. But again, they're trying to make people who believe in the Motb, who believe in the Bible, look crazy. Look crazy. That's simple what it is. So just be aware of these kind of things. And more news like this is going to be happening. People who believe in the mark of the beast, Motb, we're nuts, crazy, conspiracy, all this stuff, because it's simply the truth, right? Now, again, we have a list of crimes here. This is from 2017 FBI crime list, crime table. Let's go in order here. As you can see, it says murder, manslaughter. Whites at 53%, blacks at 45%. Grape, look at that. Edomites at 74% or 75%, blacks at 22%. Robbery is the only thing Jake lead in. Jake, I'm talking about the so-called blacks. 50% of crimes, robbery is Jake. 47% are Edomites. So there's only basically like a 3% difference here, 3 to 4% difference, right? But look at all the look at the gap and everything else. Aggravated assault, right? That's violent. 68% of aggravated assault in America in 2017 was done by Edomites. So let's round that to 70%. Then 30% of aggravated assault was done by blacks, right? But you couldn't tell that from the news. I did a show on this years ago, back in like 2022, 2023, going into this. I'll post that in the description if you want to look at that. Burglary, right? 72% of burglary is done by Edomites. 26% of burglary is done by Jake. Larceny, theft, 68% Edom, 30% Jake. Motor vehicle theft, 72%. Look at the gap. 72% Edom, 25% Jake. Look at the big gap in that. Arson, violent crime. Look at that. Look at the gap. A violent crime is 64% Edom, 32% Jake. Property crime. Look at the gap. Damn near 40%. 40% difference. Other assaults. Damn near 50% difference. Of violent forgery, countering. Esau again, 64 to 30. Fraud, 68 to 30. Embezzlement. So each of these are damn near over 30% a difference in crimes that we do, man. Between Jake, Edom, and Jake. Esau and Jacob. Stolen property. Who's that? Esau. Vandalism. Esau. Weapons. Esau. Prostitution. You would think Jake, right? All the pimp movies and all that. Nah. Esau. Sex offenders. Up. I can't get that one down. You already know who leading that. So I just wanted to point out, look, again, these crazy crimes, of course, that was bad, evil, wicked, what that guy did to his children. He deserved to be put to death. But overall, violent crimes are not, according to this stat, we're not the ones committing these violent crimes. Esau is. So he should be put front news on TV. All right. Now, here is why I come to this point, why it's being done, because according to the first blockbuster movie ever, Birth of a Nation, right? Now, when we read about Birth of a Nation, let's go to the images here, right? Let's go right to AI mode to see what it says. All right, it says The Birth of a Nation refers primarily to two different American films, right? Not the 2016 one, but the 1915 one we're talking about by D.W. Griffith, right? 1915, the film D.W. Griffith. It says the title, The Klansman, is a landmark in cinematic history celebrated for its technical innovations, but widely condemned for its overt racism. Plot and theme. It says the epic film chronicles the relationship between two families, the Northern Stonemans and the Southern Camerons, during the Civil War and Reconstruction eras. It presented a highly subjective and false history portraying African Americans, many played by white actors in blackface, as unintelligent and sexually aggressive, while glorifying the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, as a heroic force, restoring order to the South. Yeah, because in this movie, like I said, it was the first propaganda film, and that is showing basically Jake, so-called black man, like a wild ape, graping white women, right? So it's a movie to let the fellow Edomite man know in America to beware black men, protect your white women from these black men. They're sexually aggressive, unintelligent brute beast. And it glorified the KKK as restoring order to the South. It says historical impact. The film was a massive commercial success and is like it was the first blockbuster Hollywood, right? In Hollywood. And it is widely credited with inspiring revival of the Ku Klux Klan. Mere months after its release, it sparked protests and riots in several cities. The NAACP's National Advancement of Colored People led an unsuccessful campaign to have it banned. Yeah, because I do remember reading prior before I always knew, like studies show that they used this movie to recruit a lot of KKK members. And like I said, it said this was a commercial success, widely credited with inspiring the revival of the Ku Klux Klan. Because the Ku Klux Klan was created in 1865, 3 weeks after supposedly the so-called blacks got freed from slavery. Isn't that a coincidence? So I know in this cinematic significance, a lot of when you have the woman and the man go off into the sunset, that's pretty that's been a mark in films. The woman riding off into the sunset, that literally came from this movie, right? So cinematic significance. Despite its deeply offensive content, the film is considered a masterpiece of silent film era technique. Pioneered countless filmmaking techniques still used today, like riding off to the sunset with the woman. That was from that movie, including close-ups, fade-outs, night photography, and complex battle sequences with hundreds of extras. It says the legacy. The film remains one of the most controversial ever made, presenting a complex challenge for modern viewers to reconcile its artistic achievements with its white supremacist message. So yeah, just wanted to show that real quick. Hold up. So just wanted to highlight this movie real quick because again, what we looked at the news clip that we saw, I think it's taking the same out of the same playbook, or it's of the same vibration or formula of this movie, or what the media does, right? Like I said before, who owns the FCC, who owns these airwaves, these media stations, is the international bankers, the Rothschilds. They're the ones that allow or okay news like this to come out. Okay, killer dad mentioned the beast before murdering 4 kids. So, again, to me, this is just some of the playbook that they're doing. Again, using media to depict so-called the black man as a nutcase. Now, this guy may be very well a bug out, and like this title describes, they're going to try to couple us with bug outs, and then use bug outs and correlate them with the Bible to upset and make the scriptures look bad, but nothing's going to work. It's just what the devil's doing. See what scripture I'll bring out. All right, so I'm going to finish up here and just going to go through this real quick. We go through it all the time. I went through it in my last few shows. But for this edification's sake and for this show, let's read. It says, Revelation 13-16, it says, and he causeth all, right, everybody, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And again, he calls us all, that's all, both small and great. Just what it says there, rich and poor, right? Whether you make 6 figures or not, or no, nothing. Free or bond, either if you're free in society or you're locked up in jail. Right, to receive, so basically this covers everybody. To receive the mark right, in their right hand or in their forehead, which basically means anywhere in your body. It could be your right hand, your left hand, your forehead, your buttocks. It's biometric technology, the RFID chip, and that's going to be mandated in your body. Let's look up mark real quick. I mean receive. I believe that means mandate. Excuse me, I'm mistaken. Receive with cause. Cause, if you look this up, it means to mandate, which is to make, right here, to make. Right, to make, ready, to prepare. But it also, I just looked up receive. It does kind of fall into that too, because when you look up, he's going to make everybody rich and poor, small and great, free and bond, to receive a mark. Right, when you look at the receive, it means to give, to grant, put, show. So they're going to put that mark, deliver, make. Oh, it says make too. It says make. It says make. It says to give something to someone of one's accord, to give one something to his advantage. Yeah, so look at that, to give something for his advantage. So whatever what the government's gonna give out is gonna be for their advantage, not yours. Even though they're gonna advertise it, right, or promote it as your advantage, but it's really for their advantage. To grant, to give one asking, let have, to supply, furnish, to reach out, extend, present. Let's see, to be administered, to give, commit, to give, to appoint to an office, right? Be mandated. All right, to commission, to commission, to commission. Let's see what commission means. That's a big one right there. To commission means to add an instruction, command, or duty. All right, to a person or group of people. That's it right there. So we could say it means to commission. It's a duty. It's going to be a duty to get this. So that right there, permit one. So you're gonna have to have permitted to take this mark, to receive it. So look at that. So if you look up the word mark, right hand, their foreheads, where were we? To receive a mark, right there, we all know that one is charagma. We look up the word charagma, so we means a stamp, engraven, mark, right, to engrave, brand, horse, thing, carved, sculpture, graven. All right, so when you, again, cut into the skin, you engrave, you mark, you stamp, imprint. Right, let's go a little deeper. Right, go here. Charagma in the Greek. We'll go further. Charax. What does charax means? It means a pale or a stake, a palisade, a rampart. So a needle, right? A needle. Or how they're going to put this rice chip in you, a size of a rice grain, is going to be like a palisade, a needle. Pales between which palisade, right? So a needle. Through the idea of scratching, a stake. All right, what's a rampart? Let's look that up again. A rampart is a defensive wall or a castle wall. See, so we got that, right? So a pallet is stake, a pallet, a rampart, palisade. A trench you dig into. You're going to dig into that skin. It says to sharpen to a point. Through the idea of scratching. So we got that. Let's go deeper. Grapho. We look up grapho, it means like graffiti. It means the writings, to write. Right? So this chip is going to have all your writings, your document writings, your license writings, your health writings, your insurance writings, your name, your credit, all that, all your informations will be documented, will be graphed in to express written characters, right? It's going to have written characters in there to be legible to read about who you are, your identity. You're going to be identified by a list of writings that will be your documents. Ooh, a record. It's going to have your record, a record. Things not to be forgotten, like your license, your passport, to write your bank account, your record, your health record, your records. All right, so we proved that. Let's go back. We always bring this out all the time. We're in that time. So again, they're going to commission, he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to be commissioned, right? And to, we looked up Mark, to have these writings, the grapho, your documents in you, in their right hand or foreheads. That's going to be in a size of a grain of rice put in your body. It says, and that no man might buy or sell, like we just read earlier, because that guy took it way too far if he committed that crime, but they reached and related the crime for his children, whether it be that case or not. That means if he had a brain, he would not buy anything, because everything you buy has a 666 encoded in there, in your barcode, in your universal product code, right? So if he was mad about signing something, a lawsuit against, because he didn't recognize a child support clause says 666 in there, then that means if he wouldn't be able to buy anything if he really looked into his thoughts or his belief in that way, which doesn't make sense. All right. So it said that no man might buy or sell save he had that mark, right? Or the name of the beast, or the number of his name, right? Because in order for you to buy or to sell, if you want to sell something, if you want to buy something, you're going to have that mark, which is a universal product code under your skin, right? For you to do that, because it's here. It's just not under our skin. All right. Now, you don't have it. You want me to buy and sell. So it says, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. So right here it says, here is wisdom. Here's the truth, right? Let him that has the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is a spirit of comprehension, understanding what you read, the scriptures, which is the prophecies, ultimately, of the coming of our Lord and the great awakening of the elect. So let him that has the Holy Spirit of understanding, comprehension, count the number of the beast, for it is the number of the man, which is a number 606 to or 6. So that's, as we see here, psi chi sigma, right?
Strong's G 5516. Chi Psi Stigma. Chi Psi Stigma.
Chi Psi Stigma. Chi Psi Stigma. We bring it out all the time. 603 score 6. Which is what? It represents, let's go into it. Stigma, which means to stick or palisade, a marked, pricked, or branded upon the body. Ancient or Oriental usage, slaves, soldiers bore the name of the stamp of their master or the commander, branded or pricked, right? So it's a mark of a slave honoring their master. So what they're really doing, even according to the laws of the scriptures, Exodus 21:16 or 24, right? 21:4, it says that if a slave, if an Israelite slave loved his master, he would get an awl. He would get a digital awl, not digital awl. We call the mark of the beast a digital awl, but I'm slack here. That he would get a tool, an awl, to bore an ear, to bore a hole in the man's ear, to mark him. That would be the mark if he was enslaved to his master for life. So technically, what's going on now? Esau knows this, and he's making this law. He's making people slaves for life. So if you take this mark of the beast or the digital awl, like we like to say, you're telling the Most High that I don't want to serve you. I serve this New World Order system. I serve the nation of Edom and their system. I serve the international bankers and their system for life. I love my master. Right, to indicate what master or general they belong to, and there were even some. So that's what it says right there. So that's the token of your stamp themselves in this way with the token of their gods. So you're acknowledging Esau as your God if you take the off-ID chip. That's what you're doing. You're denying the Lord, right? So that's stigma, which means to stick. And that was it, so that's the number that they're talking about. And as you see here, Esau, the devil, he doesn't want you to know. Even in this here, it says 666, the meaning of which is the basis of much vain speculation, right? So vain, I mean vain speculation, right? But we all know, the believers of Yahweh Shemashah, we all know that this is the sign, like we just read, of that man. And it's all in that barcode. And who owns the barcode? The international bankers. All right, right here. 666 barcode. You see the breakdown right there. The mystery barcode, conspiracy theories lurking behind the scans. So it's already here when you buy your things. So again, that guy, if he had a brain cell, you know what I mean? Here it is. He's committing a lawsuit against signing child support paperwork because he knowingly didn't know it said 666 in there, when ultimately everything in society has 666. And everything that you have in your house, what you buy, is under that vibration. Okay. So as long as you don't put it under your skin, you're good. Just don't put it under your skin. That's it. Don't take the mark. All right, so that was it. It's a little late now. It's 11:30 now. A little late tonight. Yeah. So this air in the morning because I'm about to go to bed, and it's gonna take a while to load. But as you see, this video will be in the description, the news article, and you see what they're doing. They're just trying to couple us with people who are bugged out, right? And people who believe in people who are bugged out, and trying to couple them with the truth, with the truth of the scriptures, to make the people who believe in the Most High, believe in the Motb, believe in the World War III, crazy conspiracy theories. Because you just said Trump, he denounced World War III, and there's not going to be World War III. Or you have the prophets, you have so-called prophets condemning America, condemning the war in the Middle East. So basically, people who believe in the Bible, which are none, starting with the elect, right? If you believe America is going to be destroyed, if you believe America is Babylon the Great, if you believe the Motb is a mark of the beast, ready a chip, you're going to be deemed crazy. You're going to be deemed crazy. Simple as that. Okay. And more news articles and more coverage like this will ramp up to make the people of the scriptures, or believers of the truth of the scripture, look crazy. Right. So that was it. But we are, the truth, the Lord has already won with his scriptures. Let me just get this one scripture. Let me just read this real quick. This is Matthew 17:20 says, and Yahushua said unto them, because of your unbelief, right? For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. So this mountain here represents governments. It doesn't represent an actual mountain. It represents governments. So I bring out the scripture to say that this truth that we're bringing out is through our faith, and the faith is as of a mustard seed, so small. But our faith, which starts off so small, is so great that it's removing mountains, which in this case is governments. The government of the New World Order, the government of America, the government of EU, NATO, etc., is being broken down by this truth. Really, the elites, they're being, a lot of this truth is just breaking down their governments all around the world, because people are waking up. The Israelites are waking up all over the world, which we are scattered all over the world, as scriptures say, right? Defying their government leaders by way of the belief in the holy prophecies. Right, so that's what's really destroying this man's kingdom, is this truth, and the main thing that they want to secure their New World Order is by the mark of the beast, right? So here it is. That's the key thing they don't want you to really know about. Is for your detriment, not for your well-being. Even though they're going to advertise it that way, it's not going to be for that. So anything that's deems the Motb or the RFID chip as something bad or evil, they're gonna quickly try to downplay it, water it down, or even go to, as these links make you look crazy if you believe that. And they're gonna create stories like this, where they be real or fake, and couple crazy people with the truth of the Bible, right? Okay, so that was that. All right, so that was a long show. I can't do short ones. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just pray you edified with this. Again, I just saw this on my algorithm. Just wanted to report on this and put that awareness out there, and get used to these kind of stories of them trying to make us look crazy, and coupling us with bug outs. People who are troubled, man, and a lot of these might be AI stories. It might be made up. So let's not forget that. But whatever the case is, whatever he's doing is gonna just work towards the prophecies, not gonna work against it. We all know that the devil's gonna come and try to deceive, but you can't deceive the elect. So with that, we'll say, Kal Halal, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahushai Bahashim, Rochav Kodesh. Thawada Yahweh for giving us Yahushai, double honors to the apostles of GMS, double honors to the CT bishops, and shalom to Yakim in this country and all over the world. Prophesying the true name, Yahweh Shemeshai, shalom. I pray you edify, shalom.